Cody Rhodes is once again your WWE champion. And ooh, there are a lot of people who are not happy about that. Man, this guy has gone from undesirable to undeniable to undesirable again in AEW, and then back to undeniable again in WWE, only to go back to undesirable yet one more time. Whew, that's a lot. But is this another mere case of the fans turning on a beloved babyface and being fickle, or is there a reason behind audience dissatisfaction? Well, I say there's multiple reasons, and those are the topic of this episode, because today, from Cody Rhodes to Sami Zayn to Jey Uso, back to Cody Rhodes when they said the fans were turning on him because he wasn't Sami Zayn, to Roman Reigns, to John Cena, and so on and so forth. It seems that a lot of fans in WWE quickly turn on whoever the top babyface is in the company. But why exactly does this keep happening? Is it true what a lot of critics are saying, that fans are just going to turn on beloved babyfaces because we're just obstinate? Well, as you can figure, I say no, that is definitely not the case, as there are ways to build a better babyface, and we might as well just get into those reasons now. One of the first things I want to talk about is championship fatigue, which is something that I think Cody Rhodes is experiencing right now. And this doesn't necessarily have to do with duration of a championship, but rather how many of them they have. Yep, this time it's quantity over quality. With Cody Rhodes now becoming WWE Champion for the third time within 2 years, it does seem like a bit much. And the reason it comes across this way is because when we have a title reign come to a close, we as wrestling fans naturally view this as the conclusion to a chapter, and we're about to move on to the next one. But how would any reader feel if only after 5 pages in, all of a sudden the book resets back to the chapter you just read? When somebody new becomes WWE Champion, we are mentally ready to move on. We are ready to progress in the next level of the story to find out what happens next. But repetitive booking with no clear direction shows us that there really is no next phase to the story, and that this isn't a story overall. It's not a well thought out plan, but rather just giving the belt to whoever you feel like giving it to at the time. And this repeated action is going to exhaust fans, who are no doubt going to take their frustrations out on whoever happens to be holding onto the belt yet again. And the funny thing is, you think WWE would have learned their lesson, even though it does seem that in the long haul they tend to be somewhat right. Allow me to explain. Going back to when the Attitude Era was winding down, we saw Triple H having his reign of terror, winning the championship over and over again. And this was extremely frustrating for anybody who was still watching WWE at the time. Did this work to get him heat? Yes, it did. But at what cost? As ratings started to plummet and people just stopped caring. And going forward, we saw this repetitive champ stress syndrome happening with the likes of John Cena, Edge, Brock Lesnar, Roman Reigns. And yet through all of this, WWE never stops to think that maybe there's a problem here. But maybe that's because, in a small sense, it isn't. Now, while this is all happening, fan engagement, fan satisfaction, and even ratings can all start to slide. But the problem is, after a while, some fans start drinking the Kool-Aid. Because while WWE fandom is nowhere near what it was in 1999 or 2000, there are still a lot of people out there today who now consider Triple H to be a legend. Well, maybe not right now because they don't like his booking, but something similar has happened with the likes of Brock Lesnar and John Cena and so on. So while the audience numbers aren't the same, WWE has learned that if they shove somebody down their throats enough, in time, you will start to embrace them. You will start thinking that they're legendary, even when they're kinda not. But going back to the whole quantity over quality thing, let's take another look at Roman Reigns, who we just mentioned. As while the Tribal Chief has had numerous WWE title reigns, his 3-year-long run was something that a lot of people were quite fond of. Sure, it might not have pleased everybody, but it was really well received, and I don't think we've had a WWE champion go over that well since. But why exactly is that? Is it because he was a heel, or could there be another reason? Thank you so much to everyone on Patreon, from Harry Flynn, Ron Hawthorne, Mangy Stray, Dakari Garmin, and Stephen Knight, the Legend of Legends. Seriously, thank you so much for your continued support. I cannot express to you how much that means to me. It's really great that you guys care about me that much. Seriously, thank you. The Bloodline saga with Roman Reigns wasn't good just because he was a heel champion instead of a babyface one, but rather because it was loaded with story. Now, I use the term saga because I don't view this title reign as just one storyline, because I actually view it as three. The original family drama with Jey Uso, the stuff with Sami Zayn, and of course Cody Rhodes finishing the story, all wrapped up to make one great long title run. And when we keep getting storylines that we can connect with, we are going to be more engaged. But now, having said that, how familiar does this sound? A babyface wins the WWE Championship only to have a series of matches and title defenses instead of having stories and plots. There's more to a rivalry than just pitting two guys against each other, and you have to give the audience a reason to care. You have to come up with a plot. That's right, somebody winning a #1 contendership match and then going against the champion does not a storyline make. We need a clear, concise narrative, a beginning, a middle, and end. Character motivations, character arcs, all these things are crucial to developing an actual story. It's something that should have us hooked to find out what happens next. And not only that, it would also be great if the characters going through this story came out different on the other side. But for whatever reason, WWE feels like this is just a job for heels, and this is just something you do with bad guys instead of good ones. And most of the time, babyface champions just have the whole motivation of, I'm gonna beat you because I'm gonna beat you. Because I'm better. Yay. Oh, and by the way, the OTC isn't the only example of this. Let's take a look at the Attitude Era yet again with Stone Cold Steve Austin. Now, I'm certain that there are a few people out there who misremember this as a 10-year-long time period where Austin just battled with Vince McMahon on and on every week. But that wasn't the case, as there were multiple pivot points that happened during Stone Cold Steve Austin's time at the top. Even Vince McMahon himself changed his allegiance between heel and face during this time period. I mean, just look at Austin's initial feud with DX, the higher power storyline, and Austin getting hit by a car. These were all multiple storylines that all happened throughout Austin's multiple runs as WWE champion, therefore keeping things fresh. But nowadays, it seems like WWE just feels that every babyface is better on the chase, and their entire career is based off of their pursuit of the championship rather than what they do when they actually have it. That's right, you have achieved your talos and you are fully actualized. No more reasons to care about you. None whatsoever. But if anything, I think it's more important to funnel all of your creative energy into babyface champions. Because while as champion, their merch numbers might still be good and they might even be at the top of the list, the point is you could make even more money if you funneled a lot of energy and effort into it. By booking a boring babyface champion, you're not backing a safe bet, but rather you're costing yourself the opportunity to make a bank. When you don't give your babyface champion any ammo or anything new to move on to, of course the audience is going to start getting bored with them, and they're going to start thinking that wrestler is boring themselves. And when they manage to hold on to some of their momentum and just coast on being a babyface, it isn't because you did them any favors, it's because they just happen to be a freak anomaly. They're the exception rather than the rule. For example, I think we all could say that LA Knight hit his peak a few years ago, and while this is not disparaging him, it does seem like he hasn't moved on to anything else. He's still the exact same guy he's been for the past 2 years, and even if you love that, you have to admit he needs something to keep him relevant, to keep him fresh, to keep him, well, entertaining, and it doesn't seem like we're getting that. And as a result, his time when he could have been WWE champion seems like it might have waned. And in some ways, the worst thing they could do to try and get out of this tailspin is if they just book him to become WWE champion with no pomp and circumstance behind it. Because as soon as he does, and he doesn't learn any new tricks, but he just has a title, well, the fans are going to turn on him too, saying that he's boring. But while we're on the subject of being bland, let's go ahead and move on to the other issue. Seth Rollins is not cool. Let's take you back yet again to the Attitude Era and the Cure for the Common Show, where Vince McMahon vowed that no longer will we get the boring Saturday morning cartoon character superhero as your main babyface, but rather more complex characters. And while that was a fascinating promise, one that was mostly kept, it does seem that some lessons bear repeating. As there are many who would criticize that fans today just root for heels and hate babyfaces, but is that actually true? Now, personally speaking, I do think it's safe to say that a lot of fans don't want the saccharine sweet goody-goody as their main WWE champion. Especially when you consider that wrestling's primary fan base is adolescent males, and also post-adolescent males. But you get my point. And one of the main reasons that Stone Cold Steve Austin worked was because he was an anti-hero. He was rebellious, he was cool, he had attitude, if you will. Same thing goes for The Rock, same thing goes for Mick Foley. These guys were cool, they were tough, and they weren't just altruistic good for no reason other than because they should be. This isn't an NCIS protagonist. Beyond just the veneer of being a good guy, can we give these guys some teeth? Can we ruffle up their edges just a little bit? And as I already quoted in an old video, it's like the Blues Traveler song says, it's a bad play where the hero's right and nobody thinks or expects too much. Give the fans something to think about with these babyfaces, and moreover, give the babyfaces themselves something to struggle with, something to work on. We're not gonna buy that the struggle is real if there is no struggle, and you also run the risk of becoming a Mary Sue if everything just goes the right way because it's the right way. And yet again, let's go back to my favorite episode of Monday Night Raw of all time, where Stone Cold Steve Austin had to struggle with the decision on whether or not to save Stephanie McMahon, the daughter of his archenemy. A hero's initial decision doesn't have to be right away, as long as it's right eventually. And when it comes to pro wrestling, which is about two guys, wrestling each other, it's good to give them something to grapple with. Well, there you go, my thoughts on how to build a better babyface. But what are yours? Let me know down in the comments, and please make sure that you like and subscribe. And also, thank you to all my Patreon supporters, and thank you for watching. And as always, Dave knows.